Like, how does your financial status make you better than me? Because men lead with money. The world has now defined men as, if you don't have money, why do you exist? Why are you here? That's how society has kind of shaped our men now. And I feel like men lead with that.
You don't play. Before we get started on today's episode, I'd like to introduce to you our Black-owned Business of the Week, where we showcase quality Black-owned businesses for you to support every week. This week's business is Stick Teas by Black Cat, Harlem's own Cat Tucker. Cat's cigar fascination began with the Girls' Night Out cigar lounge hopping that served as a catalyst for the brand that we know today. Stick Tea specializes in cigars and apparel for cigar aficionados, both men and women. Be sure to check our selection on the brand IG page and send her an email for your order today.
Women are rapidly closing the gap to inequality, with over 60% of enrolled college students being women, as well as Black women specifically being the single fastest growing group of entrepreneurs. With that being the case, the relationship dynamics between men and women have changed as well. On this week's episode of the Infusion Breakdown Show, the Breakdown crew sat down with two very special guests with their shit together. Let's see what we come up with.
So the question we have for today, are men scared of women who got their shit together? Comment below, let us know your opinion. Also, the guests for today's episode include model Diamond Williams and host of the Ask Maj podcast, Maj. Thank you, ladies, for joining us. Just as a background as far as this question, to be honest, I just found this question on Instagram one day. It was just like one of those white background question, not a question, it was more white background statements where it was just like, men are scared of women these days who got their shit together. So I was like, yeah, I guess it's interesting enough to at least have some type of conversation, you know? So yeah, that's really the background as far as the question. Did one of you ladies like to go first? Is why do you think men are scared of women?
Diamond, you want to kick us off or you want me to jump in here?
Go ahead and take it over, babe. I'm jumping. I'm doing it.
Okay, so here's the thing. I don't necessarily think that men are scared of women who have their shit together. I do think that for a lot of men, it's a chase, right? Like there's a challenge, there's a chase to, I guess, pursuing a woman who may be more established than them, or like Josh said, you know, have their shit together. However, I think the tricky part is once that man has her or they begin to build a relationship, then the man is underwhelmed by what she requires in that relationship. So I don't necessarily think that the man is scared of that, but once he gets in the relationship, it's like he don't know what to do with her. Like a lot of men don't know what to do with a woman who has her shit together, especially considering, I guess, who you've dealt with in the past. If you've dealt with someone who is on that woman's level. So yeah, I don't think they're scared. I think it's more so about once you get into the relationship, most men don't know what to do with a woman who has her shit together.
Is that kind of what Diamond was saying earlier about so I'm not comparing people to pets, but she kind of said that she doesn't like dog, or she likes dogs more than cats because dogs are more dependent and that fulfills a need. So sometimes people are like that. Like a lot of people they'll say under the guise of them being nurtured individuals, and they'll find broken individuals to fulfill that and give themselves the sense of fulfillment. Is that what you're getting at? In a similar vein.
Are you talking about on the guy side? Like a guy's looking for
like
someone to fulfill him?
The guy, the woman doesn't need the same set of needs to be fulfilled that he's used to. So he doesn't feel that he's actually needed in that relationship.
Correct. Yes, that is exactly what I'm saying. Mm-hmm. And that's why I think it's kind of tough once they get into that relationship because they don't know, I guess, like you said, how to fulfill that woman. Because a woman who has her shit together, she doesn't need a lot of what I'll say the average woman needs, right? Like, you know, we have this conversation going on social media about to pay the bills and the money, and like those things are nice. But like when you really consider like an independent woman, like I would say we, because I'm in that category, okay? We are not looking for that. Like the bills that's the easy part. You know what I'm saying? You pay my bills is the easy part. You know what I mean? So that's not something that I'm looking for, you know, when we talk about what you bring to the table. And so a lot of men, and I hate to say it because I think a lot of women do expect that out of men. So men lead with their money, right? So then when you come across a woman who has it together, and it's like, baby, that money don't do nothing for me. You know, then a man is like, well, what can I bring? If the money isn't the main point of the conversation, then what do I bring to this relationship? What do I bring to this table?
Why do you feel like, you said women, they expect that from men, and that's why a lot of men lead with their money? Why do you think that is the case?
You know, I think there's this level of, I don't know, feminism and liberation that women have created, and I love it, right? Like I love the liberation movement. I love the feminism movement. Like I love it. But now I think it's associated with what you do for me as a man. And I think that's where that liberation piece comes from, right? Because when you think of, I don't know, if you break it down into like music, right? Or you think about how a lot of men have approached, you know, situations in the past or relationships in the past, it's been all about, you're the woman, you cook, you clean, you take care of the kids, you know, please me, and I pay the bills. I bring the bacon. I'm the, you know, breadwinner in the family. So there's this idea of like gender roles. But now with this whole liberation movement, women are challenging that. And I mean, you know, in essence, it's kind of like history is sort of repeating itself. But now the liberation movement is more so, you gonna pay my bills and I'm just gonna look cute on your arm. Because most women are saying, you know, I want you to pay my bills, but women ain't cooking, women ain't cleaning, women ain't taking care of your kids. I want a shopping.
What you here for?
You know what I'm saying? And I want to go to the nail shop while you pay my bills kind of thing. So I think that's where that kind of liberation feminism comes from. And one more thing I will say is that, you know, I think, you know, going back to like music, you know, a lot of men, that's what they lead with even in their music. And maybe it is because women expect it, but let's be real. When you think of rap music, what are the three things men talk about? Money, drugs, and women.
Yeah.
And one more thing I will also say, a lot of times I was talking to someone about this the other day. If you get into an argument with a black person, two black people arguing, whether it be two men, two women on social media, the two things they bring up, you broke, your money status, if you're broke, and how you look. You ugly and you broke. That's the first thing black people bring up when arguing. Why is that? Like, how does your financial status make you better than me? Because men lead with money. The world has now defined men as, if you don't have money, why do you exist? Why are you here? That's how society has kind of shaped our men now. And I feel like men lead with that.
That's an interesting thought. Diamond, what are your thoughts on, are men afraid of women with their shit together?
I agree. I agree 100% with what she's talking about. I don't think they're necessarily afraid. It is to a point where they feel like, oh, if I don't have what you have, or if I'm not as established as the woman I'm trying to date, it is kind of like, for them, I feel like it's a setback. Oh, I can't provide you with this. I've had someone that I was kind of seeing, they told me I shouldn't get my nails done as often as I like because it costs too much. I'm like, well, I can pay for my own nails. Like, you don't have to, that's not what I'm looking for you to do. So I do think men, they definitely lead with money. I definitely think that if they can't provide what you've already put up for yourself, they get kind of insecure with that. So that's kind of something for them to work out. But also I think now it's like coming to a point where we say, we don't need you. We really don't need you. Like, I don't need you. I don't need no man. Yeah, kind of, sure. But I mean, I don't want all men to think that all women are like that, but it's to a step where I have my own money. You know, if I want to have a kid, I can go have a kid. I can buy my own house. I can get my own job. I can have my own business. Like, no, we technically don't, but I really don't want men to feel like we don't need them at all. It's just that what they're trying to provide for us at that time, we don't need. Give me something I want in reference to, I don't need you to buy this for me. I can already buy that. So what can you put forth that I can't provide for myself? Like, I work every day just like you. I do this just like you. When you come home, you want a hot meal, you want this. If you're off, why can't I get the same thing? And I think also too, it's becoming very like biased in reference to men and women, how they're viewed. Oh, women have to do this. Women have to be this. And if I'm a man, I'm going to come home and do this and this. If you have that relationship with your like significant other as to when the man's only going to pay the bills, the man's only going to work, the man's only going to do this, and the women's only going to do this, that's your relationship. That's how I feel. But it's just so, it's very different now. And like I said, because women, we can provide our own thing. We don't have to have men, but it's not that we don't want them. You know, we, of course, we will love, I'm sure women will love that side of, if I can't take care of it, if I have to be at work, you should be able to handle that. You should be able to pick up the slack, and vice versa. It's not always going to be this one-sided thing. And I think a lot of guys now are like, well, I pay all the bills, I don't have to do anything. Or it's like, well, I don't want to do this, and it's fine. But you all have to have that mesh. Like, if you know I hate taking out the trash, that's your thing. If you hate doing the dishes, all right, cool, let's just jump on that. Like, we both have to have this communication thing. And I think it's just a little off nowadays, because it does feel like it's one-sided. And guys are I'm sure guys like, I don't need no girl, I got all, sure, great, yeah. But you know, it's still two sides of everything. If that makes sense.
I think a lot of those sentiments are misdirected. Like, of course, as an adult, you shouldn't need anyone, like guy or woman. Neither one of you should actually need someone, but that's beside the point. We are created to best coexist with each other. Mm-hmm. Like, not to be opponents, not to be opposition, but we do best when we complement each other. And I think that's what a lot of people seem to forget.
I agree too, for sure. Yeah, I think, and that's part of like communication, I feel like, with what we have to work with. Because just like, you know, like I said, you know, saying you don't need someone, yeah, technically you don't need them, but you still want people in your life. You still want friends. You don't need friends. You don't need, you know, different stuff, but you still want them in your life. And I feel like too, when, just like communication is very now too, everything has to be so defined and definite. Oh, you're my boyfriend, you're my girlfriend, you know, I count as this now, and I want to be known as this. It's just, everything seems so definite. So I feel like too, now if people don't have an exact answer on, oh, we're this, we're that, it's kind of like, well, what are we? Are we just messing around? Are we just chilling? You're like, what do we, like, what's our goal here? You know, so.
Question. As Black women, do you feel you have more expectations than other women of other races?
Absolutely.
Expectations? Yeah, I would say that for sure.
Where do you think that comes from?
How we were raised. I think that starts at home.
How we taught, yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. You have to be this now because of what you look like, who you are. You can't, don't act, listen, we gonna go in the store, don't act like such and such. This is it, you know? So it has to be this look of who you are. You, even if it's slightly loud, you're slightly annoying, it's, gotta watch out for her. Like, you can't do that, babe. You gotta bring it all the way down. It has to be a level, and anything exceeding that level, it's just, oh no, out of character. Mm-mm.
Do you feel that's contributes to the disrespect Black women has faced, like, throughout history? The high expectations when it comes to dating? Like, because I feel like men look for, it's not just men, a lot of people, they just look for they try to get the most reward with the least amount of work, basically. So do you feel that they do? Do you feel that, basically?
I'm gonna say this. I think that the level of disrespect that Black men show Black women is a result of how they were raised. That's one. Two, I would also say, you know, there are a lot of Black women that have, you know, higher expectations. And I think just as a community, like as Black people, we have to work harder, right? Like, we have to have those higher expectations, you know, compared to other races. So I will say, like, I think, you know, on one side, yeah, the level of disrespect that Black men show Black women is a result of how they were raised. But then on the other side, that same level of disrespect that Black men show Black women is a result of how Black women are sometimes raised. And I think, we Twitter, social media tosses around this term of like unlearning, right? Trauma, healing, stuff like that. And I think a lot of Black women are healing and are dealing with trauma and trying to unlearn things that we were taught growing up. And so as a result of that, a lot of Black women have lower expectations, lower standards and lower expectations. And so then it creates an avenue for disrespect, for accepted disrespect. There's a girl, she was on the Bad Girls Club. Her name is Megan James, I think. Anyway, she went on this podcast maybe a year ago, and she said it's okay for her man to cheat as long as you keep your hoes in check. And so that comes from a place of learning, right? History and trauma of learning that cheating is okay. I just have to learn how to deal with it. So instead of saying you're not going to cheat on me, I'm going to say you're not going to, you can't cheat, but let me put some restrictions on it. Right. And so because of that, then black men are more prone to disrespecting Black women. So then if you move from someone like Megan and you go to someone who's like, no, you ain't coming up here cheating, then you got the Black men like, who the hell you think you are? I've cheated on all my last girlfriends and they didn't mind. And here you go with all this. So now I'm stuck up. Mm-hmm. Now I'm never gonna find a man. Now I'm not submissive. Mm-hmm. Now I'm all the names in the book because I don't lower my standards based on what you're used to dealing with. So I think it's twofold, right? It comes from a place of like how men were raised, because I mean, let's be real, men are raised to disrespect women. Men are, your worth comes from how many women you can have sex with, or how early you started having sex. The group chat is all about, I mean, I see my guy friends group chats. I know what guys talk about, not to, y'all's level, but it's all about women. Where the women at, where the P at, what I'm saying? Like, where the B's at, like that. Let's be real, in college, that was a conversation. And so I think men, like, your worth based on what you were taught, like your worth, your validation, who you are as a man is based on how many women you done had sex with, how many girls you done ran through, what I'm saying? How many girls you can date at the same time, or, whatever. And so, yeah, and I think that enhances the level of disrespect that a lot of women get.
That makes a lot of sense. I think I'm more inclined to believe exactly what you're saying about it being how you were raised, because I wasn't raised like that, so I don't act like that. So if I really do think that's the root of it. So it's always going to be that the antithesis, like, well, okay, well, you weren't raised like that. That's exactly why you don't behave in this manner.
Yeah, it starts.
And as with most things. And my general thoughts on this is, I'm not intimidated by a successful woman, or the exact phrasing is a woman with her shit together. That's what I want. As a man with this shit together, that's exactly what I want. And I think that it really comes down to there's three kinds of men. And this is not something that I've read. It's not factual. This is just my thoughts. And so I think guys with their shit together that truly have it together, they want women with their shit together. That's self-explanatory. Then there's guys who are on the path to getting their shit together. They're not comfortable with their head. They don't understand themselves as men. It's an ongoing process. And I feel like those are the guys who might be intimidated by that, because they still have like a solid foundation and understanding of themselves as an individual, and they see a woman with I guess a more consolidated image of herself. She's more accomplished in her career. She has things, and he's like, okay, what can I contribute to her? Because okay, she has the financial aspect of things covered, and she has all this attention from other guys. And then you have the third category, everyone's least favorite, the guys that don't have their shit together, and they don't seem to care. Like a guy that doesn't have his shit together, he does not care. He's going to go after whoever, a woman that has it together, not together, just anything. That's so. Those are the three different main categories that I can see with that. And when it comes down to, you said leading with money, I think that's very interesting, because I see the opposite. So feeling that guys are they're kind of like finance averse when it comes to women. They're afraid of being taken advantage of a lot of times. That's most of the discourse that I see when people post tweets. But personally, I feel it's empowering when a woman is with me when she wants me, as opposed to out of necessity. There's actually a screenshotted thing. It's one of these things I think Josh, where the original question came from. It was one of those stolen tweets that Justin LA Boy posted. And this one's today, and that I saw it says dating a financially stable woman is a blessing. When she says I love you, you know it comes from her heart and not because of poverty. There's a lot of women out here dating their landlords out of necessity. So I'll just put it that way. So it's like when somebody actually has these things in line, they are able to provide themselves as an individual, and they want you out of actual desire, and that's what their heart wants, and they've committed to that, as opposed to actually needing you. It's like, okay, I can't break up with you because where I'm gonna go? I'm gonna live with my girlfriend on our couch, or I'm gonna go back home with my parents, those kinds of things. And also, I think it's really attractive when women have their stuff together, because with that comes a certain element of discipline. And with me being having a vision of my own, if we're going to build a vision together, I need a partner that's going to help me accomplish that. I want the best teammate. Ultimately, it's more than just somebody that you sleep with, or you do nice things for. It's something like you are at my level. I feel like I want somebody who I can build that with, and that requires somebody who has that kind of skill set. So I can't be with someone who isn't about their shit like I am. Yeah. So I don't think that that's intimidating for that very reason. Like I respect that a lot. That's one of the things that attracts me to a woman, is when she does.
Let me butt in real quick. So I agree with the 3 categories of men, but I think you forgot one. So I would say the 4th category of a man or of men is that one who has his stuff together, is successful, but wants a woman who may not be as ambitious. And that's where that dependent part comes in, right? Like you have this man who has it all together, has all the money, whatever your idea of has it together is, and he wants the woman who's dependent, the woman who he wants to take care of. Baby, you stay at home, you take care of the kids, whatever, and I'm gonna take care of you. Whatever you want, I will take care of you. You ain't gotta work a day in your life. So I think we have to recognize that there's that man too. Like all successful men don't want a successful, on the go, working, ambitious woman. Some men want the house girl, want the homebody that ain't doing nothing. Like I say, I'll take care of you.
You're right. Thank you for including that one.
Yeah, I agree. I also agree with you, Brian, as far as like the steps and everything. But what I really had was men are usually the breadwinners. So maybe that they won't feel scared, but maybe intimidated, because they're supposed to be the breadwinners. They're supposed to be the providers of the house. And when they see women making that much money or as much money as them, they can feel like, oh shoot, they're intimidated by their own success, basically. And I also feel like some could also feel women who are more successful will be less willing to be submissive in a relationship. I think a lot of guys have that in their head, and I think a lot of men look for women that are more dependent, or maybe not look, but maybe prefer that more dependent because of what you just said, Maj.
Yeah. I think we need to, I like to challenge this thought. Like, I think we need to disassociate breadwinner with money. Like disassociate, like, I guess like you having, how can I put this? Like, okay, so you said, the man is supposed to be the breadwinner, so on and so forth. So sometimes he can feel insecure in a relationship if the woman is the breadwinner, so on and so forth. And I think we need to disassociate like being the breadwinner or money with what you're worth or what you can bring to the table. And then we can start to, have different conversations. Because, even going back to the entire question or the topic is, a woman who has her stuff together. And what do you automatically relate that to? Money. A woman who is making money, who's ambitious and is making money. And I think we have to separate or disassociate a woman who has it together or a man who has it together from money. Because money ain't the only thing. It's a lot of MFers out here who got money and dumb as hell, who uneducated, is broke in the mind. Like you might be rich, but you broke in the mind. You can't teach me nothing. You don't know how to cook. You couldn't change a pamper if I put a baby in your face, but you rich. You know what I'm saying? I know y'all saw that post of like Kylie Jenner, or was it Kylie or Chloe? One of them cutting a cucumber, and she could not cut the cucumber. So people were like joking on her. And don't get me wrong, I understand you a chef, y'all got chefs and all this other type of stuff. But I mean, I think there is something to be said about somebody who has a lot of money, but it's dumb. You know what I'm saying? Or you don't have it. You can't teach me nothing, but you got money. So I think, we could talk all day about you being the breadwinner, but again, what can you teach me? What do you bring to the table? How do you help me, stay sane? You know what I'm saying? Like, how do you have my back in situations? You know what I'm saying? Like, not just the breadwinner. It's girls out here getting abused, but their husbands is rich. You know what I'm saying? So I think, we gotta disassociate like your worth with how much money you make. Like you coming into a relationship as a man, and your wife or your girl or whatever making more money shouldn't matter if so y'all putting up the same amount of effort in the relationship. You know what I'm saying? And so I think it goes back to how you were raised, what you were taught growing up. But I don't think the amount of money you make should define your worth. And broke is a mindset, not a state. Broke is not how much money you have; it's about what's in your mind.
Right.
So yeah.
I don't think we can separate those two in terms of having your shit together and then the financial part. Just because when it comes to relationships, so 41% of marriages end because of financial reasons.
That's true.
And so, like, money problems, I don't know exactly how
it shouldn't be the whole thing. That's what I'm saying.
It's not. No,
yeah.
at all.
Yeah.
No. But money creates problems that you definitely don't want.
Yeah.
Like if somebody's coming into a relationship and they're bringing a bunch of debt to the point where they're dragging you down, they have bad financial spending habits, like, yeah, that might get you divorced.
That's true.
For sure. But I understand exactly what you're saying. It's like there's multiple components. There's way more to a relationship than just that. Like we talked about that on one of our previous episodes, actually, in terms of like assets. That's another thing. There's also like the peace of mind aspect. Like, is she going to be a good mother? Those kinds of things. Because not all women have those characteristics. It comes easier to some than others. Right. So like I don't like the full all-encompassing list that I had on the episode, but there's a lot more that goes into relationships than just the financial part on both sides, for men and women.
Yeah, you just gotta find somebody that match you, and I think that's just the bottom line. It's like you gotta find somebody that match you, got the same type of goals, same type of vision, same type of plan for your money. You know what I'm saying? So that you don't have the issues of who making more money and who feeling insecure because the other person making more money. I mean, you buy the flight, I'll buy the hotel. Like, damn.
I think that's a really good point. I think also too, it's the way of us being like not known as being submissive too, because we are financially able to keep up with ourselves. Like, I think a lot of times when you think of women having, her shit together, you think of, oh, well, she will never submit to a man. She will never, be able to be married because she's just alpha female. And that's not true. I feel like if a man or whomever she feels can be with brings her to a different level of what she's already at, can, guide her, like I said, teach her different things that she doesn't already know, I think she can absolutely submit. And I think a lot of times men feel like, oh, well, she got money, she don't need anything. And that's where it comes to, like, that's the only thing they can provide is money. And that's not all that's needed in that relationship. So I think that's something else to really think about too, in reference to being submissive in a relationship and knowing who you match with. This person, it brings to the thing like, oh, guys, they need to have money if they're gonna mess with me. No, there's been plenty of women who are financially stable and do not care if this guy has money. It's just what they bring in reference to mental state and what they can, help her develop and what they can build with in reference to them having a relationship. So it's not always about money. So I think that's just interesting too, about being submissive and having your shit together. It can definitely be. It can be, together. You don't have to always think of her not being submissive, especially Black women. I feel like they feel like that too, and that's not always the case.
What do you think, Des?
Say it again.
I was saying Des.
Oh.
Nah, I love everything that's been said thus far. I think it's been very on par with a lot of my thought behind it. But to kind of bring it back to the point that I did want to make, this was when we were talking about, the Black male viewpoint of Black women is, based on how we're raised. And I agree 100% with that. But I also think that, taking it back to one of my previous points I made was that as much as I enjoy Black culture, I consider the base or the root of it to be borrowed culture. And I don't think our borrowed culture is able to, transcend with time. So as we evolve as people, the culture stagnates. There is no innovation, there's no new thought, there's no challenge of theory. If we look back to, prior iterations of Black culture, if you look at, MLK, Fred Hampton, Malcolm, like there's always been a thought-provoking leader that pushes the culture. And with no thought-provoking leader, there is no challenge of the status quo. And we have, like you said, we've equated iterations of Black culture and music to just be money, sex, and drugs. And that's just been the status quo. Nobody challenges that. If somebody comes with, thought-provoking music, it's accepted by a small, percentage of, I won't say small. I say it's accepted by the Black majority, but it's not like when you think of Black music, your first thought isn't Kendrick Lamar. Your first thought is like Jay-Z, Nas, and Kendrick is great. Like I will say that there's probably in recent times more people being accepting of Kendrick music, but when you think of Black music, Kendrick isn't that face because it's thought-provoking music. And so, me personally, I do agree a lot with the whole need of breadwinner to be redefined, and maybe just scrap the term altogether. Because when we do look at, our prior generations, that's all it's been. And if all of our prior generations have just been, quote unquote breadwinners that are making the least amount of money possible, but having families and, kids from different mothers and things of that, all, sucking the life, that's all it is, sucking the life out of this one man. And this life of pity has been, glamorized as a provider. Like our whole viewpoint of family and our whole viewpoint of what a provider is severely flawed, because a provider isn't someone that struggles to literally provide for the family. The provider is someone that is able to give more than just the dollar. It's the spiritual feeding, it's the emotional feeding, it's teaching, it's all of these things that I honestly think are greatly overlooked, because we are on like borrowed time, we're on borrowed culture. Like it's until we have like a revolution of what Black men should be, like it's going to be what we've seen for decades. Like everything else will continue to evolve, but what we keep spending our Black money on is going to be the same. What we keep putting our Black attention into is going to be the same.
Yeah, and I like to say that. I think I really love that point. I like that you brought that up. I will say that I think that as a community, Black people are bandwagoners. And I think that social media has a huge part in that. Like, I think social media plays a huge part in that. And I think that's where cancel culture comes from, because, we, like you said, there is no thought-provoking leader. And like you said, Kendrick Lamar is not the face because we don't want to hear thought-provoking stuff. We want to hear the booty shaking, the drugs, the money, and the shooting. And so I think because of that, like I said, and like I said, social media plays a huge part in that, but then Black people are just bandwagoners. So then when you do have somebody who does something different, Black people are not open to change. They're just not. When you have, folks who are, want to be that thought-provoking leader or want to do something different, or, speak out about things that are not right, what I'm saying, or things that should be done differently, then you have this level of this idea of cancel culture, right? Or you have, and let me tell you, Black people are evil sometimes. Like if you go through, if you scroll through social media comments on the shade room, Black people we are our worst critiques. Like Black people critiquing other Black people are hateful. I love us to death, but we are hateful and we are bandwagoners. So I think, I agree with that wholeheartedly, that there aren't any thought-provoking leaders, but I also think it starts with the community, right? Because when we think of the people who are in power, or have the influence, have the clout, have the impact, guess who give them that clout?
We do.
Us. We do, right? So we talk about people not liking, or not, I guess, following Kendrick Lamar. That's not the face. It's because the Black people as a community or as a collective are not following Kendrick. You know what I'm saying? And so I think that, we're bandwagoners, we want to do, we're monkey see, monkey do, you know what I'm saying? And we're not, even when I think about like when Tekashi was I think he had just gotten released from prison and he was doing all of this stuff on social media and, just trolling people. And every time he did something, like I saw the blogs post him. I mean, and I follow all of them, Spiritual Word, On Site, Shade Room, I follow all of them. And so like when I would scroll through social media, all I saw was like Tekashi 6ix9ine did this, Tekashi 6ix9ine took, you know, and then in the comments it was like, I don't understand why this such and such still got clout. I don't understand why because y'all are posting it and then y'all dumbasses is commenting. That's why he still has the clout. Because of us. Because of us. And people are saying, he can't say nigga, he can't say this, he ain't part of the black community, we hate him, he is snitch. Right, and guess what? You up under all these blogs, commenting, and when you comment, guess what? It shows more to more people and more people and more people and more people. The more you say cancel Tekashi 6ix9ine, the more it's gonna continue to show up on people's timelines. Look, do y'all not get that? Do y'all not get that revelation? Like, do y'all not get that revelation? We are the ones giving him the clout. Not white people, not Hispanics, not Italian, not Russian. Black people giving this man the clout who snitched on black people. How that work?
The algorithm doesn't discriminate.
No.
So I mean, I agree with you. I think we are bandwagoners. Nobody wants to step out and be the first. Nobody wants to step out and be different. Nobody wants to be thought-provoking. Nobody want to be canceled. You know.
Why though? Why do you feel that way? Every time I feel like we do step out, it's always like, oh, here we go. Oh, let's stop them. Let's get them.
I think it's the hatred that comes behind it. Nobody wants to be, criticized. And the thing about it is, I am a strong believer in like let people have their opinion, whether you agree with them or not. You know what I'm saying? If people are not saying things that are mean and hurtful, you know what I'm saying? Let people have their opinion. And so like for instance, I don't know if y'all heard about the Macy Gray interview when she was saying, sex don't make you a woman, and people are in her DMs. Anyway, she did this interview. I can't remember what it was on, and she was basically saying just because you get a sex change don't make you no woman. And the trans people jumped on her. I mean, she was getting all so she said what she said, right? And then afterwards, she's getting death threats, right? Black people sending her death threats. I'm sure they calling her all type of names in the book, talking about canceling her over an opinion. What did she say that was mean or hurtful? If that's her opinion, that's her opinion. And so I just don't think that, Black people, we're not open to change. We are very closed-minded as a people, I feel like, and nobody wants to step out and be different.
Yeah, makes sense. So we're getting kind of close to the end though. I think we should go into recommendation of the week. I don't know if Brian had any more questions, but Desmond usually gives an actual recommendation of the week. It could be anything like a book, album, or anything like that. I don't know if he has one. Do you have one, Dev?
Yeah, of course. The recommendation of the week that I have is staying in line with my Audible love, and it's going to be The Fifth Agreement by Don Miguel Ruiz.
All right, nice. All right, be sure to check it out. I want to thank Diamond, and I want to thank Maj for coming on the show. It was a great conversation. Maybe we'll have another one even longer. Thank you. If you guys like,
thank y'all for having us.
Yes.
If you guys like the discussion, don't forget the like button. We're gonna see you guys next week. Peace.
But while you're here, be sure to check out other great content from the Breakdown crew, including previous episodes of the podcast, Joshua versus Movies, Joshua versus Music, and of course, haven't forgotten about my plant lovers, Feel the Love. Just check out this begonia.